What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of the GZ Chop Shop podcast, your gaming and tech news podcast. I am your host, Project Itachi, joined by my good friend and co-host, Warners. And this week, we got to talk about Dragon Dogma too, because Capcom has done something wild. They have been riding on a high horse, and I feel like Dragons Dogma 2 is going to set a standard that's been in the works for years, that we've been pushing against, but at this point it is inevitable. So we're going to talk about that. But before we get to that, I just want to say thank you guys so much for being a GZ Chop Shop podcast listener. And if you haven't already, go check out our new website, gzchopshoppodcast.com. There you can find every episode from season 1 up until now, all in one nice place. We've got a newsletter coming for you guys. We're going to have blog updates to accompany every future episode so that you guys can get a little bit more in-depth information on what some of the things we're talking about in these episodes. So if you want to send some voice clips with your thoughts on certain topics we've covered, you'll be able to do that. So go check out our website, gzchopshoppodcast.com. Everything you need there, from merch to episodes, all in one nifty place. So go check it out. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the main topic of today, Dragon Dogma 2. Now, I just want to say I haven't played the game yet. It is on my list to get, but I've got a backlog to get through right now of like tons of games. Like the year has already started off strong, so I've got a huge backlog. But Dragon's Dogma 2 has been on my radar, and it was going to be my console version of Baldur's Gate 3. Which a lot of people have been making the comparisons. They're saying, this is pretty much the game of the year contender, just like Baldur's Gate 3 was for last year. It's pretty much in that same realm. The huge difference, though, is Capcom made the bold decision to offer microtransactions that they didn't say were going to happen. That just kind of came out of nowhere at launch. And it's not a few, it's a lot. It's a lot of microtransactions. And there's two sides to this argument right now. Which I can understand both sides. There's the sides that are pretty much like, what the heck? Why didn't you tell us you were going to do this? And then there's the side of those who've actually played the game and they said, well, technically you don't need to buy the microtransactions. You don't. You can play the game entirely, get its full experience, and never once touch a microtransaction, because everything that the microtransactions are offering are things you can't earn in game with a little bit of time and grind work. And then you and I spoke a few days ago about it, and I said, okay, well, that's true. If you never have to touch the microtransactions, it makes the argument against them a little invalid, because it's everything you can earn in game, unlike other microtransactions where, like in Fortnite and hero shooters and other games, it's specifically cosmetic things that you can't earn in game. You have to spend real money for. So it's almost like Capcom knew where the argument was going to come from, still wanted to do it, but found a way to get people on their side and get around. It's like, hey, you can earn this in game if you're not lazy, but if you are lazy, you can just buy it. So it's like you can argue against the microtransaction, at the same time you can't. And it's like, Capcom thought this out.
It's such a smart fucking move, dude. Like, because on one hand, we've done the microtransaction epidemic in gaming. We did it ourselves by never. There was never any true backlash for this. It kind of started off small, mainly started on mobile, came over through games like Destiny, and Fortnite, and then expanded with battle passes and in-game purchases from there, like to other games. And we allowed it to happen over time by never saying that's enough. Like, there was never any real backlash. There was just people that were like, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. But it became such a problem that it's almost like we're allowing them down the road to do to the gaming industry what Activision Blizzard did to World of Warcraft, by allowing games to be completely purchased, the level, the character, the design, the weapon, and an actual pay to play. And we've done that to ourselves, and that's going to ruin the gaming industry. It's just going to be full of instead of gamers, it's just going to be full of a bunch of snotty people that purchase their way through everything but never really enjoyed a game. And the only people who are actually falling for this are like young 20-year-old kids, like 18 to 20-year-old kids. They finally have a little money of their own, and they I guess they don't understand what it means to actually spend large amounts of money on microtransactions and what it'll do to the industry down the road. But parents, I can't imagine the parents that are allowing the kids to do this know anything about gaming. Because otherwise they would see what it would be doing to the gaming industry, and honestly to your kid in general, by letting them buy their way to success instead of earning it. There's a level of self-accomplishment and just all around good feelings that you get earning things in a game. And we are letting these companies step in and take that out of the equation and say, well, in this era of immediate gratification, you can buy your way to success. There's just so many points of argument on how bad this is for people individually, for the gaming community, and for the gaming industry. So I'm really, even though this was a smart move, I see where Capcom's coming from. They're exploiting a middle ground. I still disagree with it because of that.
And I'm glad you mentioned the instant gratification, because that's exactly one of the thoughts I had. I said, with some millennials and definitely the younger generation, it's all about instant gratification, or as
and they're just exploiting that.
Yeah, the microwave generation. It's like, why do I have to wait? Why can't I have it now? I get my Amazon packages either same day or the very next day. I get, instant money transfers. I get everything instantaneous. Why do I have to grind to do this? And, one big luxury that a lot of games have is fast traveling. But you have to travel to those places to unlock it. And already gamers are like, well, why can't I just fast travel off rip? And it's like, because then you aren't experiencing the game. That's the point of getting there and then unlocking it. You've done the legwork. You've earned the right to fast travel because you've gone there and you've seen everything in between. And, like you said, Capcom has found that middle ground. It's like, all right, well, you know what? If you I'm going to call it how I feel. If you're feeling lazy, then you can buy your way. Now, I will slightly play devil's advocate here and say they also craftily are playing to people who are too busy to put that much time into an intense RPG like Dragons Dogma. Because on the fence, there's not everyone in that category that's going to pay for it is paying for it because they're lazy. There are those who are paying for it because they legitimately do not have the time to put in that much effort, but still want to be able to enjoy the game, which is understandable. That group of people is far smaller, specifically smaller. That's a very niche group. But I'm sure Capcom, is using that as an argument as well. What about the people that are too busy? They're working a 9-to-5 job, but they're still gamers. They come back, they might not want to play Call of Duty as their game night. They might want to play an RPG, but then they only get like 4 hours a week. 4 hours in an RPG a week is nothing. You're not even going to get past the tutorial. So they say, hey, let's help you out. Spend some of your hard-earned money and you get to explore more of the world, which is reasonable because a lot of people put down RPGs because they don't have the time and they don't earn everything that lets them enjoy the world and explore it more. I ran into that when I was still in the Navy, and I'm sure you ran into it too. There was a lot of games you wanted to play, but you couldn't play due to time. So you picked up something that was a little faster so you could get your gaming high without feeling like, okay, I got an hour, 2 hours at most to play this game. I started an RPG.
I didn't really play RPGs during that time.
Exactly.
Too time consuming.
So not saying that Capcom was a saint in this, but they found that specific market spot where they can guarantee their revenue, which is another reason they're not intent on changing it, because gamers, we are also very we accept things. We just nonchalantly accept things because at the top of the list of problems in the world, gaming is never going to be number one. So as far as most of us are concerned, especially the older we get, we're just like, it's not that serious. It's the way of the world. You got to do what you got to do. Pay the money or don't. And we're just very nonchalant about things we probably shouldn't be nonchalant about. And these industries know it. They're like, because basically they'll go like, you got bigger issues happening in the world. You really want to make us think about this? And it's not wrong. But at the same time, that's how they play your responsibilities and feelings against you. Because you're like, yeah, you're right. Why am I crying about microtransactions when we got all this, we got political problems, we got war problems, we got day-to-day, everyday problems. And they're like, yeah, exactly. Just don't worry about it. Just let us do our thing. You pay us extra money and everyone's happy. And it's like, no, we sometimes even with the little stuff, we gotta stand up for it. I'm just saying. But yeah, Dragons Dogma, microtransactions, it's not ideal. Also, apparently, they're banning modders on PC.
Yeah. I can't say I blame them. Because as much as I love modding in a game, like me personally, I don't mod a game until I've beaten it. But I know like most people aren't like that. Like a lot of people will just enjoy it. Like, but mods are fun. That's what they're there. They're there to be fun. But I imagine Capcom with this game wants people to enjoy the game for how it was made, not for how you want to like
manipulate it.
I think so. I always get when any dev or company comes down, they're like, you can't mod our game, we won't let you. I don't even get mad because I do get it.
Yeah. I think that another reason they're banning the modders is because they don't want the modders to undermine the microtransactions either.
Oh, they will.
Yeah.
So they're banning will still find a way to mod the game.
Yeah. And they're like, hey,
for a second, an anti-modding system on a game is going to stop modders. It's not.
And you know me, I've always been on the fence. They just see it as a try.
They just see it as a challenge. Like, oh, we can't mod it, can we? Watch me.
I think they already had some mods come out. I don't know what Capcom's legal pursuit of it is, but even without modders, apparently people have broken the single player economy to get rich really quick.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, using I guess their own I forget what they're called, but they're like hires that you can get, NPC hires you can get in the game to send to other player worlds that those players can hire them to do jobs for them.
Like retainers?
Yeah, they're like retainers, but there's a name for them in Capcom's game. And apparently people have been making hundreds of thousands of the in-game currency this way. So they're like, man, you think Capcom's going to come in and stop that? I'm like, probably. If it affects their microtransactions, like spend $5 to earn 100,000 gold, they're going to stop that. They're going to nerf that. Really
I will say this about Capcom. Historically, they're a lot like Nintendo is as a whole. Don't touch my shit. Stay away. Don't even breathe in the direction of my shit.
Yeah.
You can enjoy it, but don't fuck with it. Why are you still looking at me? Go away.
Go away. Yep.
Go away.
Yeah. Which is, and to be fair, I also said this in our Discord chat. I said, this is kind of where we mess up because none of us, myself included, none of us read the TOS that these games put out. When they first came out, we were so confused. We were like, what the heck is this? Where's my start menu? Okay. And once we did that, from the first time we did that at like 12 years old, we've never stopped. There's probably like 2% of us that actually sit down and read the TOS page by page. And even less, 1% that actually understand everything that it's talking about. The only thing I know from those TOS is it says, we paid for the right to play that game, but we do not own that game. That's all I understand. And as I was telling Yuli, I said, well, if they're banning modders, as harsh as it sounds and unfair as it seems, if it's in their TOS that any changing of the game, manipulation of its files is legally not allowed, then they have that right. And the way Capcom found the middle ground with microtransactions, and they're not being taken to court, and they're like, we're not changing it because they're not predatory. They're technically not. You don't have to take
They
part.
really aren't.
Yeah, they're not predatory. They're just annoying. They probably have in their TOS that you cannot change or manipulate the game in any way. Well, I could tell you for a fact, modders don't read the TOSs. They see a game, and the first thing they think is, how can I 304 it? And what would be cool that doesn't belong?
A field of Teletubbies, and Shrek is killing all of them.
Yep. And they immediately take to it. And the thing is, a lot of developers, they just usually, they're too big to care. They're like, whatever. If it helps sales, screw it. We'll look the other way.
And that's a lot of it does kind of come down to that. Is it increases popularity. More people are enjoying the game, and it increases sales.
Yeah, increases the
longevity. And I think
of people
those
playing
are big reasons why a lot of companies just look the other way.
Yeah, but Capcom, I kind of get it, because I've always said this too. I said, well, that's good for the PC front. We know the PC community is very particular. You know, if you go to a restaurant, if you brought all the different gaming communities to a restaurant, the PC community is going to be the very picky one that's always going to be having the waiter going back and forth about a specific thing that doesn't taste good on the plate. So Capcom, I would say, was kind of looking out for the console community, because that's who they favor. With, like, we don't get mods. It's impossible. So while that's beneficial to the PC community, that's also unfair, because you're saying the game is better on PC with no way of that converting over to console. That might increase PC sales, but tank console sales.
Right.
Because the person might be like, well, I don't have a PC and I don't want to play it on PC, but if it's better on PC, then what's the point of me getting on a console? They've got Star Wars lightsabers and all the hot chicks they want in that game. I would want that. But I get this vanilla, bare bones, microtransaction heavy version. Boo. And then, you know, people on console stop playing while everyone on PC is still playing. So I can get them wanting to shut down mods, because I also feel like sometimes mods are a slap in the face to developers. It's more like, your game's good, but I can make it better.
Yeah, and it can't have that effect.
Yeah, and
I think mods are more fun with, like, indie games.
Yeah,
which
because
might sound shitty, because it's not like they don't put in hard work for their games to make, you know, their first or second game, whatever the case. But they seem to be more friendly about it. I'm more open to it, probably because it, like we said before, like, helps with sales and popularity.
Yep.
But yeah,
I will say bug fixing mods are okay, and I think bug fixing mods, specifically to fix bugs, should be allowed, because then companies can work with the modders to get that to everyone. Like, hey, we fixed your bugs.
You know, what's crazy to me is, like, a AAA company will struggle fixing their bugs, or probably not even try, honestly. I really don't even think they put the time and money in to fix bugs half the time. But, like, one or two people from a random remote part of the United States, like, upstairs in their room, can, like, put a fucking mod out and fix the problem. But the AAA company can't. Like, fuck out of here. They're just not trying.
Again, I will play light devil's advocate. I don't understand. And if anyone works directly in the game development industry, please reach out to us. Let us know, like, the work conditions. I'm just assuming. Assuming
the work conditions are so bad. That's why they're like, you know what, we'll allow the bugs.
I'm assuming that they don't have, like, even though their title is one specific thing, they're not doing just one specific thing. They might be doing 2 or 3 different things. And then bugs is the last thing on the list. And then it rotates on who's fixing what bugs. Where as a modder, if that's their specific thing, like they're just modding, they're dedicating all their time and effort to just that. They found that bug, and they can dedicate all their time to fixing said bug. They don't have a boss telling them, hey, I know you're working on that bug fix, but did you put the latest skins in for the store? You know, like they don't have to worry about stuff like that, like getting pulled in 13 different directions on that specific game. And a lot of people forget development teams, while they're big developers, sometimes a team developing a game is a lot smaller. It's not like the whole company is working on said specific game. They might pull like 100 people to work on that game. And then, you know, for a really, really big game, then yeah, they might have like several hundred people working on it. It depends on how much they're willing to toss into that game and how well they think it will succeed based on fan reception and announcement. So that might be a reason a lot of bugs don't get fixed. And honestly, a lot of time there's just not money for it because the budgets cover marketing. 7% of the budget goes to marketing over the actual game development. And that's just the way the world is designed now. Everything runs on social media. And so 90% of your game experience is social media. And then you get like the bare bones when it comes out, with the rest coming in DLC. Which, just to throw out there, I always said, you know, people talk about, well, games are technically still cheaper. If we were paying the inflation price, we'd be paying $150 and et cetera, et cetera. And I said, you know, I was talking to you about it. I said, we are paying the inflation price. We pay it through season passes and DLC and cosmetics and all of that. And when you add up what you spent on your game over its lifetime, if you bought it when it came out, you paid the inflation price. It's just broken up. And you could argue, well, then I just don't buy that extra stuff. Then you didn't get a full game because your game was broken up.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go back in time, when you bought a game off the shelf, that was your whole game. That was it.
And
there was no DLC.
It's that kind of thinking that put us here in the first place. Like people just not considering how much money that they're making by giving us bullshit and broken up games and DLCs and battle passes and shit that could have all been in one game. They've broken it up to make 10 times more money, if not more. And then just to have you still turn around and defend that behavior while they sell us a $70 game that is not complete.
I think Call of Duty and Destiny, if you add together everything, I think I did the math at least for Call of Duty.
I don't need to play the same DLC that's just a slightly different characters with the same story and like all. It's just ridiculous, man. The amount of money.
Wasn't it something like $600?
Yeah, for all of Destiny 2 and like all the DLCs and everything, it was like including if you bought Destiny 2, even though now it's free, the base game's free, but you probably spent $50 when it first came out.
Yeah, I did.
They did that to everyone, all the veteran players. Yeah, it was like $688 or something for a fucking video game that still made you, still asked you for a battle pass and gave you the same shit story that went nowhere for like 7 years.
Again, Call of Duty is the same way. Call of Duty will run you almost $1,000 over its lifetime with all of its.
I think people confuse a good, fun game with something that's addicting, because that's what Destiny 2 is. It's addicting.
It's addicting.
But it's not, and which in turn can be fun, but it's the same. You're paying for the same stuff every 3 or 4 months. You're essentially rebuying the game every 3 or 4 months. When
I noticed there's a trend too. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something about us and our subconscious. Notice every game that's addicting. Do you know what they have in common? And they were addicting, and I'll say this, they were addicting before COVID. So this is something that's been in the gamer mindset for years. Do you know what most of the addicting games have in common to an extent?
Yeah, there's
skins and competitiveness.
Yeah.
If you pick any addictive game out right now, League of Legends, competitive. Destiny, they still got the Crucible. A lot of people just thrive in the Crucible. Call of Duty, self-explanatory. Fortnite, self-explanatory. All the top tier battle royale, obviously all PvP competitive. It's something in us about being competitive that makes those games addicting. And there's a certain nature to it, because I'm like, I'm not overly competitive. I'm not overly competitive, and I don't like when people are overly competitive with me. And I don't get a sense of accomplishment from those games. Like, I feel like
I
would
do.
have to be
I
a
like
tournament
crushing
player.
the souls of my enemy.
That's what it is. I think a lot of people like that. They're just literally just deadpan like that. They're just like,
Yep.
I like crushing the souls of my opposition and letting them know I am superior to them.
Yep. I'm a piece of shit. What do you want me to do? Huh? I admit it.
See, you can at least admit it. I'm like, and I don't know. Like, maybe it's an upbringing thing. Maybe it's like a sports thing. You played sports, I assume.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, maybe it stems from that. Like, I just don't have that kind of, like, for those games, I don't have that kind of competitive edge. Even when I like played Yu-Gi-Oh, I played Master Duel. I didn't ever want to take it so serious, but there's always that one person that just ruins it, because most of the people I played Yu-Gi-Oh against, I was so happy. And I didn't like flaunt it or anything, but I was happy when I won a match against another player. I was like, great, I haven't lost my edge. I don't suck at this game. And then I remember I was just having a casual match, low rank. I went against this guy. He had the match won, and I tried not to quit. I try to give people their win. So I usually don't quit. I'm like, I take my L's. In Pokemon, when I did rank, I took my L's just as much as I wanted the person who lost to me to take their L's. And most of the time, that's how it was. It was that fair exchange. I lose, I'm going to give you your win. When I win, I want you to give me my wins. Just respect. But this guy, I could tell he was overkill. My field was empty, and I'm like, all right, dude, do your direct attack. Let's roll out. I'll roll into another match. This guy did like 6 unnecessary fusions back to back to back to back to load his field with like Thunder Colossus, like all 3 of his Thunder Colossi. And I'm like, okay, we get it. You're comboing off. And I'm like, is he stacking up points? Like, is he trying to stack up points but for a solid minute, which is a lifetime in Yu-Gi-Oh, he was just doing unnecessary fusions over and over and over to, in my opinion, rub in my face, I can end this whenever I want, but I'm just going to put all of my most powerful monsters on the field and then attack you with one of them. You would only get to hit me with one of them. So what was the point? Just end the match.
You're still salty about that, aren't you?
Yes, because I've never gone back to Master Duel since. Because I'm like, that's the mentality that just like, there's always going to be someone that I run into that's going to do that. And that was the first time and the last time I just left the match. I said, nope, I'm denying you those points because now you're being excess. Just end it, because I could have been in another duel already. Like, I've lost matches in that game and I was okay with it, because even though the other people could do that, they were just like, I got it won. I'm going to end it. We're going to move on. Cool. But when you got that person that's got to be extra, like Invaders in Elden Ring, you and I both experienced Invaders who are unnecessarily extra.
Yeah.
And then it's just like frustrating.
Yeah, it's why I don't chase Invaders anymore, because half the time they'll just have you chase them across like 19 fields of everything in the game, all to still eventually kill them. It's just, I could have just been doing something else. Or get killed
because they ran to the biggest enemy they could find to use for cover. So
don't invade my world. Don't invade my world unless you want to suffer the consequences.
Yeah, that's my mentality too. And the only game that I get slightly competitive in, and then I realized I didn't like it, is also Call of Duty. Because Call of Duty has so many questionable moments. I just realized, and when I look at how much time I was putting into Call of Duty, I was like, I could have beaten so many games, which I've proven since I've stopped playing Call of Duty for a while. I stopped playing Call of Duty. I have beaten at least 3 to 4 games in the time frame of how much I would have played Call of Duty. And I was like, I feel so much more accomplished having that on my shelf of completion over winning over even my best game of Call of Duty. And I'm like, and I feel like it does better for my stress factor and my overall personality. It's just like
Call of Duty hasn't really done it for me since Black Ops 2.
Yeah, Call of Duty is a roller coaster of either it's going to be good, it's going to be bad, or it's just going to be the same.
Well, they're a good example too of taking a game that should have been one and splitting it up into two games and milking something.
And didn't even apologize for it. Just did it and was like, "Yeah, shut up. You're going to play it anyway." And pretty much gamers like, "Yeah." And we did. And we still played it and justified it.
Out of the Modern Warfares, though, I think, personally, I think the first one was the most fun.
When they cared.
Yeah.
That's how they get you, though. They got to have one where they say, we care. Otherwise, how are they going to get you hooked? Once they got you hooked, then they can do whatever they want. Looking at you, Destiny.
Toxic relationship we have with them.
It's such a toxic relationship with devs. We have such a toxic relationship. We abuse each other and then come back and say, but we love you. We did it because we love you. So bad. So bad. We got to do something. We need help. We need like an intervention. Microtransactions are not okay. Microtransactions are not okay. I want the new skin. Bro, that place would be loaded up with Fortnite players. It would be terrible. But anyway, what do you guys think? Are you playing Dragons Dogma 2? Are you okay with the microtransactions? Have you bought any? Are you not buying any? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Do you just think we're talking out of our ass? Anyway, we'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, you can catch all these episodes on the gzchopchoppodcast.com, our brand new website, everything in one nifty place. And check out our store. We got a lot of exclusive merch on there that I promise you guys will love. And if you want to support the show, think about becoming a Patreon subscriber. You can get these episodes up to a week early sometimes. And you get access to our exclusive podcast, Afterthoughts After Dark, which is going to be rolling out more often. We're going to add, it gets a little spicy on there. So get like interesting topics. I promise you guys would love that podcast. Patreon.com/OSM Media. Go check it out. Anyway, we're out of here. You guys have been amazing. Take care of yourself and each other. And we will catch all you wonderful people on the next podcast. Later.